14th century, Meister Eckhart wrote, "It is true that God becomes man. It is also true that man becomes God. Where I am, there is God. And where God is, I am. To see God evenly in everything is to be a man." Of course, he was also convicted of heresy, and fortunate for him, he died before he could be tortured. Going back to session 1, I mentioned Giordano Bruno, who was burned for believing that the sun was the center of the universe. He was also a proponent of the philosophy of metempsychosis, which is the transmigration of the soul, as I alluded to before. It turns out this philosophy dates way back to Pythagoras and Plato. But from a contemporary view, if God is love, and we are all manifestations of that love, then when we die, that love returns to God. And when the miracle of birth happens, where does that soul come from but from the love that is God? So now I'm suggesting that as Christians, maybe we should be believing in some sort of reincarnation. The conclusions that I'll be sharing today are very different from my expectations at the outset, and this final session is definitely the culmination of an epic journey. And I didn't know where it would take me, and I thank you for sticking with me during this long video. And even this last video that you're watching went through several renditions. I've come to realize several things about my earlier self. Number one, I didn't know how to pray. 2, I didn't know where to send my prayers. And 3, I didn't know how to receive grace. First, I needed to define my faith, but soon thereafter I had to figure out how to incorporate my faith into my daily actions. Do you remember in the last session I mentioned that when I'm fly fishing, I'm in the moment? That's the mentality I strive for in every moment of every day. Each day starts with 15 minutes of quiet contemplation and an appreciation for that day. You can call this prayer if you like, introspection, meditation. It doesn't really matter what label you put on it, just do it. In that time, I commit to living intentionally and conducting myself mindfully. This is the path of Jesus, one of righteousness, love, and understanding. If you start each day in mindfulness, focusing on the love of God that is within me, I don't fear death because I am part of something bigger. The essence of my reality will join the creative force where I too will be ethereal and omniscient. Perhaps part of that collective essence will manifest miraculously with the next birth and development of a new soul. Perhaps that essence will become the spirit that is within us and around us, and even directly communicating with those we love as an angel. That's a stretched concept, but not beyond our imagination if we accept the notion of a collective consciousness. Second, regarding where to send my prayers, I've always considered myself to be a Christian, but I believe that I've always thought of Jesus as an intermediary, albeit a very important one. So my inclination is to pray to the source, God the Father. To paraphrase again from the movie A River Runs Through It, you may tell by now that's my favorite movie. There is an absolute answer, even if we don't know it absolutely. To get a glimpse of the absolute truth takes deep concentration and mindfulness. And just as you begin to see it, it can evaporate like the morning mist. But at times of deep reflection, I realize that all things do roll into one, and a river runs through it. I don't fear death. I would just be disappointed that I couldn't continue this journey and share this message. I know that I'm part of something bigger. The essence of my reality will leave this perishable body and will join with the creative force that started all of this in motion. And third, to receive God's grace is to take the intentions of that morning prayer and live mindfully in every moment, recognizing that each gesture of loving kindness is not just a reflection of God's love, but it is actually sharing of the Holy Spirit itself with all those with whom we interact throughout the day. My last New Testament quote needs no further explanation. It's a clear synopsis of everything that I've come to believe over this past year, and yet I only came to know about this reference just last week. Colossians chapter 3, 14 through 15. And above all of these, referring to aspects of one's character, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you are all called in one body. And be thankful. It seems that the absolute truth, that is the foundation of the relative truth that we all live from day to day within our regular lives, the underlying absolute truth is that we are all created and connected within one body and share one Spirit, the Holy Spirit, which is indeed the image of God Himself, that being love. This truth of our being pre-existed our mortal bodies. It is the essence of our being as we experience a transient human experience here on earth. And it is indeed what will be transmigrated after our death and assimilated into the collective consciousness that is to be our afterlife. We are all created in the image of God. That image is love itself. Jesus is the mortal manifestation of God's love. The Holy Spirit was resurrected, and we are all connected manifestations of that Holy Spirit. We can connect with that Holy Spirit through mindfulness and living intentionally. And our purpose is to conduct ourselves with loving kindness. And our destiny is the timeless embrace within God's love. I'll finish with one more quote from St. Augustus. Men go abroad to wonder at the heights of mountains and at the huge waves of the sea and the long courses of the rivers and the vast compass of the ocean and the circular motion of the stars, and they pass themselves without wondering. I'll continue to wander and wonder, but now I'll take the time to stop, to listen, to look intentionally for God, and to let myself be bewildered and amazed. God be within you.